Welcome to Jenny Eats the World. My name is Jenny, and I'm here to teach you how to create a world beyond your wildest dreams. And who am I to teach you? Well, I have been around a bit of the world, about 34 countries, I believe, and I am about to turn 34. So in the short decade and a half that I've been traveling, I have also published a book, healed from multiple eating disorders, become a yoga teacher, and completely changed my life over and over and over again. And while so many of these major life transitions may have put a damper in the topic of discussion today, I will say I have lived a very fulfilling and big life, but there is one aspect of my life that has yet to be fulfilled, and that is in the realm of romantic love. Today's episode is for anyone who has been chronically single and cannot understand why that is so. At least that's what I'll be digging into today, and I just want to say you're okay to anyone listening to this who is so hot, so funny, so smart, but cannot seem to catch a date. Welcome, you are in the right place. Now, I want to start off this episode by sharing a little bit about what I thought my life would look like by now. So I grew up in the burbs of Kansas City, where everyone was white and lived within a nuclear family. I say this because my upbringing was very homogenous, and there was a very particular flavor of humanity that I witnessed growing up. Therefore, I just thought that that's what you do. I just thought that you go to school, you get married, have kids, you get a job, right? My mom has actually said that to me. She says, well, you go to college, you get married, you get a job, you have kids, then you retire. And then that's life. She said it in a very ominous way. Or maybe that's just how I was feeling that day when I was looking for life advice, and that is what she gave me. So all this to say, I grew up in the paradigm that you are here to get wifed up and produce for your patriarchal man. And I really wanted to follow that plan. In fact, on my 25th birthday, having lived across a couple different continents at this point, I cried on my 25th birthday because I was not married with kids yet. And I had thought I would have two by then. Now that I'm about to turn 34, I am so glad I don't have kids yet. But if I were to get knocked up tonight, I would keep it. I would. I'm ready. But before we get ahead of ourselves, I just want to remind our listeners that other people's timelines are just that. They're other people's timelines. They are not yours. Some of the coolest people I know, their moms had them in their 40s, and that was way before we had all of this fancy IVF treatment. You know what? Most of my friends with kids didn't even use their IVF. Like, wow, you could have gone on such a cool vacation with all that money. But not to make fun of infertility, because I haven't been in that boat yet. And you know what? The other day, I was telling someone that I'm not going to freeze my eggs. One, it's just not in my financial means right now. But I said, no, I'm not going to have any problem getting pregnant. I just know I'm going to have kids. I know that in my bones. And then they asked me, if you believe you're going to have kids, why can't you believe that you're going to find the father of those children as well? Which was such a big knock on the head, because there are some things that I have such certainty around, and then I manifest them so easily. And then when it comes to love, it's like this nebulous thing that I just can't get a grip on on the other hand, when it comes to career, when it comes to goal setting, when it comes to deciding on what my next move is, I have that discipline. I have that tapas, that ability to burn off whatever distraction or disease that is getting in my way to go towards my goals. I can make a plan. I can do research. I can reach out to friends. I can ask questions, and I can see where I'm making strides in whatever that is I want to obtain, like moving to New York, for example. I had to buy the ticket. I had to find where I was going to live. I had to start saving money. And I freaking followed those steps. I did it. Now with love, I've been told, at least of late, that if you want companionship, you must be a companion. And if you haven't heard my recent episode about moving to New York, I didn't have many friends when I moved here. I didn't move with friends, and then I didn't make many friends, which was very rare for me, despite all the other times I've moved in my life. So about 6 months ago, beginning of 2026, I worked a part-time job in just fostering friendships. I was chronically on my phone trying to make plans with people. And now I finally feel like I have some friends, some people I can count on, some people I can call when I get fired out of the blue. But that took time and effort. Has that created a romantic relationship yet? No. And that's where the tricky part happens. So much of attracting another partner I'm trying to figure out is really being that partner to yourself. And I hate hearing that you have to be the lover for your own before you can expect one in your life. And yet, on the flip side, I think that really is the secret sauce. I think that is the recipe. I hope that I'm almost fully cooked and ready to be served, but right now I've been working really hard on getting all of these ingredients just right. And these ingredients in this metaphor are talking to myself like I might to my partner, right? Are leaving the house as if I might see my partner. In fact, there were many, many days where I was like, I'm just going to dress like I'm going on a date. I'm just going to, even if I'm picking up the mail, I am going to put on something cute as if I'm going on a date. I want to be in that energy of flirtiness, of fun, of excitement. And while I haven't had my Prince Charming come along yet, I've been getting asked out on dates. Wow, that was a mouthful. And I've also been on dates that have been just so charmingly platonic. So here's a good little example of the frustration that I've had from being single, but also the fun I'm having while I am still so. A couple weeks ago, my friend Robert was in town. We know each other from Kansas City, but he's currently in Guatemala for the Peace Corps. And he was in New York for a music art festival that he's in because he is the coolest person I know. And so Robert ended up staying at one of the guest rooms in my convent, and we went out every single night. It was so fun. We went to jazz, we went to parks, and I told him very early on in his visit that I have never been in an adult relationship. And Robert is stunned and says, I don't understand. You're so attractive. And I laugh and then I want to cry because I know. In fact, sometimes I feel like my beauty is like this facade because guys just want to get with me for the night, but they don't take me seriously to see them for night 3, 4, 5. So I told Robert that. I said, you know, I've hardly been on any dinner dates. Like we get drinks We do it. That's it. That's it. It never goes beyond that, ever. And it's not like I've only slept with men on the first date. I've changed my ways for quite some time now. But even when I've been more prudish, I just can't seem to keep someone interested. Yeah, I don't know what else. What else is it? That's what I'm spending all of my money on psychics to understand. So Robert said, I'd like to take you on a dinner date. And I was like, no, you don't have to. You're in the Peace Corps right now. Like, you're not making much money. He's like, no, it's fine. I really do. I want to take you on a nice dinner date. And so we did. And I dressed up. He dressed up. It was so cute. It was so platonic. And yet he did take a moment to really dazzle me with compliments. And so I share this because even though Robert is not my life partner, I was still able to tell myself that this is a date. This is being romantic. Here in my reality, I'm all dolled up. I put on makeup. We're out in the West Village. We're eating steak au poivre. Like, everything is so romantic. So what if Robert and I don't have the other things that qualify as a romantic relationship? In those few hours when we were on a date, it was romantic and it was really cute. So I offer you this suggestion to go on a romantic date with your friends. Go on a romantic date with your niece, with your aunt, with your grandma. Get all dolled up. Spend a little bit more money than you should. Or don't. Or go on a hot ass picnic. Like, be cute. Get creative about it. But we're all deserving of this feeling of one-on-one connection and undivided attention. Because whether or not you believe in the love languages, I just don't understand why quality time isn't the love language. Like, how could you have a relationship without quality time? But I digress. So step number one for all us single folk out there is figure out ways to make your life more romantic, and you'll stop feeling so alone. All right, I want to talk about the section of my notes where I share why I think that I am single. Because no one understands. I can't understand. Everyone is dumbfounded when I've told them that I've been single. So thank you. Thank you for validating me. Okay, number one is that when I was in my early 20s, I traveled year after year, country to country, while battling an eating disorder. If you want to read more about it, go buy my book, Jenny Eats the World. Available on Amazon. So yeah, it's kind of hard to be with a partner when you hate yourself and you're stuffing yourself silly with donuts and ice cream and then purging it all up. Like, it's not cute. And I hope to not sound too dismissive to all of my friends that are struggling with bulimia today, but it is really hard to manage any relationship with your friends, with your family, when you are in the thick of it in an eating disorder. And so much of my youth was in it and then healing from it. And while some people are in relationships during these phases of life, if you do find yourself in these addictions, then I really hope that these partners were able to hold the space that you required. Otherwise, it can be very codependent or even toxic. And for me, I did better on just keeping my addictions in solitude and staying silent and not speaking up before it got really bad. So I think if any of us are in the thick of it when it comes to overeating, undereating, overdrinking, doing drugs, all of the things, is to prioritize the time it takes for you to do some solo healing work. And that is such a loaded word, and it can look like so much, right? I think healing is a complex system of techniques and modalities. It's not just therapy, it's not just psychedelics, it's not just journaling, but it's probably a lot of those things I just listed. And when you are really trying to work on something, it's going to require a lot of time alone. So most of my 20s were battling and healing from an eating disorder. And by the time I was 27, I started my yoga teacher training. And in that yoga teacher training, I learned about the tenet ahimsa. I learned about the yamas and the niyamas, and I realized how much I was harming myself when I was binging, purging, partying, and going home with strangers. I also learned about brahmacharya. Excuse me if I'm saying that wrong. Brahmacharya, which can be translated as celibacy. And there was a man in my life at that time that I had a huge, disgusting crush on, like limerence to the extreme, like so embarrassed to look at my journals from those years because this man is married. And every time he dated someone while we knew each other as friends, I was just like, he's just getting ready for me. Like, that girl's not cute. Like, come on, she's so shy. Like, clearly he wants me. Clearly I was not his type. And it took me many years and a proof of marriage for me to finally realize that, oh, he never really was into me. Okay. Duly noted. So either way, I have a crush on this dude. And I'm at this party where this dude is at. And I end up going home with some other dude. It was like the last time I got really drunk in my life. But a week after that happened, I went to a concert and my crush was there. And it was a bunch of our friends. And when we all noticed each other at the concert, my crush would not look at me. My crush would not hug me like we always do. He like had an aversion towards me. And after that night, my friend who spent the night with me was like, why was he being so weird, my crush? Why was he being so weird around you, Jen? And I just thought, he has to like me. My thinking was that my crush got upset that I went home with a guy, and that's why he didn't want to be around me the following week. And so I decided in that moment that I will never have casual sex again. I will only sleep with someone when I love them. And then 2 years went by and I got horny and downloaded Bumble. But I'm losing my train of thoughts. I really, really tried to focus my attention, my energy into healing, into being a leader through the yoga community I was a part of and now growing, to my big plans, to writing my book. And I'm so grateful I had that motivation to do so, and I set that goal of being celibate. I just didn't think it was gonna last so long. But I think, like sobriety, everyone should try to go celibate for a little bit. If you're in a relationship already, like, try to go celibate for a little bit and then open up the floodgates after that time has expired. Anywho, back to some of the reasons I think I'm single, and you may identify with these too. So I mentioned eating disorders, healing from the eating disorders, but so much of my belief around my worth has been tied into my weight. This is so unfortunate. I wish it wasn't true. I think so much of this belief was caused when I was 17 and I lost weight for the first time, about 20 pounds in 1 month when I was still in high school. And never had I gotten so much attention from men, from women, from teachers, from parents before. Some good, some bad, but nonetheless, it was attention. And since then, I've had this subconscious belief that my worth is tied around my weight. And I've tried to shed this so much. I've really tried in moments where I've been in larger bodies to remind myself that beauty is an energetic thing, and that someone who really truly loves me would love me no matter how much I weigh. But nonetheless, that's a belief I've held, and I've worked really hard to shed it. But that is one of the reasons I think that I have been single. Now that I'm in a body that I love, that I appreciate, that I revere every single time I look in the mirror. And I remind you, I've been saying these things to myself 30 pounds ago. So despite what the number may say on the scale, I am in this position where I'm like, wow, I feel so good about myself. Clearly, my partner is around the corner. But I've been thinking this for about 6 months now, and I'm still wandering aimlessly. Another reason I think of single is being too much, being too loud, being too funny. I think some men can't handle a funny woman because they know that they're not that funny. I don't know. These are all things that I tell myself just to feel better about myself. And this next one is something that is so funny because I feel like I'm back in this boat, and that is being broke. Now, I've been really flying on the seat of my pants most of my adult life, and until recently, I had a client that was paying me pretty well. And now I'm back in the boat of not knowing how I'm going to make ends meet once this severance is paid. And I'm wondering, wow, is anyone gonna find me attractive when I'm once again struggling with money? Because all of my adult life, my mom has told me that men want women with a stable job, and that men don't want a girl who's still figuring it out. Which is funny, because my best friend met her fiance while working at a restaurant. And I actually know many women in New York who met their husbands while waitressing at a restaurant that they were patrons at. So mother is wrong once again. Love you, mean it. And another reason why I think I'm single is that I was a whore in my last lifetime, and that I caused so much shame in my community that I made a pact that I would never harm myself or anyone else by getting in a relationship in my next lifetime. I think that sometimes, or the opposite, or I was so brutally heart crushed by my partner in my last life that I said, no mas, we are not going to do this again in the next rodeo. So that's why I found a shaman, and she's the best, helping me clear out past karmas to make room for my Mr. Wonderful. I have a long laundry list of reasons why I might be single, but that is not helping me, and it's not helping you, and it's not helping anyone when coming to manifest the love of their life. Now, despite this list of why I think I'm single, I have to take ownership and see some of the mistakes I've made with men, because it's not like I haven't had any connection with men. In fact, I've had many connections with men. They just don't last that long. But there is one man outside of that crush that I mentioned that was kind of like my fake ex-boyfriend, and I was his ex-emotional girlfriend. And together, I think we were twin flames. I know there's a lot of lore on the internet about this, but we had some crazy connection, and there was definitely something there. This man, to cut it short, started calling me every day. He took me out to drinks or meals at least twice a week. He told me things he said he has never told anyone else before. He told me he loved me. And every time he kissed me, he'd pull back and say he's sorry. Because he didn't want to ruin our friendship. Now, there was a moment where I had to put my foot down and ask for a relationship because that's what I wanted. And I made him tell me that he had no sexual attraction for me, of which he could not respond. And I feel like this isn't the first time, the first guy that has had attraction with me that would not advance the relationship. And so where I went wrong in this is letting him have access to me despite not making any commitment. Because this situationship lasted a year. It drew on for a year and a half. There was some moments apart when he was traveling, but it was painful and it was drawn out. And yet he'll still call me here and there, checking up on me. But I think at the end of it, we were never going to be together. We had some crazy chemistry, but I ultimately think he would not sleep with me because he knew that he would mess it up. He did say that. He said he'd mess it up. And then a friend told me that this is classic Madonna whore complex. Now stay with me. There's this theory that some men put women into two categories of either being the Madonna, the goddess, this untouchable deity, or the whore, of which they sleep with, and that in itself is a dirty act. And this was enlightening to hear because it just made sense, because that's what this guy did. I think he put me on a pedestal. He felt really safe with me, and he had some subconscious beliefs that sex was dirty, and so he couldn't have those romantic relationships with me. I still am like dumbfounded when I think about that time in my life, but I also have to appreciate what we had because he really was a wonderful listener, and he really was there for me for some tough times. And he was a friend. He called me every day. So it really sucked when he stopped. Okay, moving on, because while we have to look at some of the relationships in our life, if we want to move forward with the relationship in our life, we also have to celebrate what we have when we're single. So here's some things that singlehood has given me. I am going to France for a month next week. No freaking way I could do that if I had a partner. At least I wouldn't want to do that if I had a partner unless he was coming with me, right? Like, I've gotten to go on so many cool trips of which I don't have to ask anyone if it's okay if I do so. Like, my poor mom is going to come with me to France for her first time, her third time in Europe, all her life. And she almost didn't get to go because my dad didn't want her to. Now, I'm probably oversharing, but it dawned on me how much I don't know about my parents' relationship, but also, travel is a big deal. I would want to know when my partner is traveling, and I have lived a whole life where I haven't had to tell anyone about any of my outings. So it's nice to have that freedom. It's really nice to do whatever the F you want, whatever the F you want. Another thing that being single has given me is the opportunity to move to New York City. I think about these men that I had crushes on and the fact that they're married with kids now, and that I actually wouldn't want that right now. I wouldn't want to stay in the burbs feeding baby Bobby when I haven't fulfilled my big career goals yet. And you can do them consecutively, sure, but I would never move to New York if I started having kids in the Midwest. Absolutely not. Now, if I start having kids in New York, like, so be it. But I'm really grateful that I stayed single, or else I wouldn't have had this weightless opportunity to just get up and leave. Another thing that being single for the last 34 years of my life has taught me is how to be a better friend. When you don't have romantic relationships, your friends are your lovers. Your friends are your dates. Your friends are your quality time, your words of affirmation. They are your physical touch. Really, really, really important to lean into your friendships when you're single, and don't take them for granted. Really foster them. Don't flake on them. And take the relationship with them seriously. Because when I first got to New York, I had burned a couple bridges with friends in Kansas City, albeit those bridges have been repaired. And I just kind of had this like F it attitude. I didn't prioritize making friends when I got here, and that created a really rough 2 years for me. Now I have almost every night filled with activities with people, and I'm so grateful for it because my friends are hot. I'm not going to kiss them on the mouth, but like, I love looking at them. They really melt my heart, and I'm just so grateful for the connections I've made and I've worked extra hard to make because I'm single and I need to fill my time with companionship. Another thing that being single has allowed me is all this time to create things like podcasts and write books and write solo shows and take improv classes and do stand-up. I mean, when you're with a partner, yes, you can do these things, but at least for me, I value quality time, and I know I'd want to spend a good amount of time with my partner. So I'm so grateful for this amount of solitude that I've had to really figure out who I am, what I want to do, and what it's going to take to do it. And the last thing that being single has given me is a lot of fun evenings with beautiful men. It's true. When you're single, you get to experience more people, right? Like, why not tap into all that the human race provides? I'm really fortunate. I've had a lot of good time with interesting people around the world, and none of those nights would have happened if I was in a serious relationship. So things that I'm still trying to figure out while I try to attract the love of my life is, why do I keep attracting guys that put me in the friend zone? What is it about my energy, and what is it about my past? Like, what have I caused to create this dynamic where I sense the chemistry, I feel the attraction, a date has been made, and then I never hear from the dude again? What I am learning in Buddhist philosophy at my yoga studio in New York City is that everything is caused, right? Karma is cause and effect. And what so many of my friends and teachers have taught me when it comes to love is that if I want the effect of companionship, then I must be a companion. They say the classic tip for attracting love is to volunteer at a senior center, and not just volunteer once, but to find someone and be their friend, be their pen pal, go over and play chess with them once a week. And so I've done different variations of that. I have little karmic experiments where I'm trying to be a friend. And while I'm not with the love of my life, I have gained a lot from these experiences. There's another theory around commitment that a teacher told me, in that if I want a committed relationship, I have to really look at the commitments that I'm keeping or not holding for myself. My teacher mentioned that even as something as small as telling yourself you're going to take a yoga class and then you don't go is breaking a small commitment. Now it's funny because I know I can keep commitments to others so easily. I love to put things on my plate and have responsibilities. And yet every time I say, I'm going to quit this today, or I'm going to start doing this, I seem to fall short. As if other people are more important than my own needs. And not to say it like that, but what I need to ask myself is, why do I, without a thought, keep all my commitments when it comes to other people, but when it comes to myself, I don't mind if I keep dropping them? And this is a really important thing we need to ask ourselves. Why is it that it's so easy to give other people compliments but not ourselves? Why is it so easy to be of service to others but then not clean up after our own mess? And why is it so easy to think that everyone is in a relationship but you? And on that note, something that I've had to work so hard to change in my mind is my reaction when I see or hear of a couple. Meaning, every engagement announcement, every photo you see pop up with a wedding band on your screen, if these images trigger you, you must ask yourself why. Because a huge difference energetically that I've made is being happy, genuinely happy for someone else's relationship. At first it was coerced, and now it's honestly so genuine, because I do want people to be in love. I want people to have successful long-term relationships. That's what I want. So why wouldn't I want to see other people have it? That's proof that it exists, right? But man, when I first came to New York, every time I'd see a couple, I'd cringe, I'd cry, especially when I worked at Cafe Colette in Williamsburg, where everyone there is so freaking cute. And there were so many hot couples that would come in, so many first dates, and I would just pout and think, no one's taking me on a first date. Even though I hadn't touched an app and I could not fathom getting ready for a date in the way that I was talking to myself at that time. So one big monumental shift we need to make if we ever are going to attract a good lasting partner is to look at how you are thinking and talking about other people's relationships. Being happy for people is such a key ingredient for your own happiness. I mean, think about it. Why would you be happy if you were poo-pooing on everyone else's success? Like, it just doesn't make sense. You can't be a happy person and not be happy for other people. Those people are narcissists. And I don't think narcissists listen to this podcast. So here's a little challenge, especially for those urbanites that live in the big cities. When you go outside today, the next time you see a couple, I want you to get so excited. I want you to smile. I want you to smile at them. I want you to notice what you think is cute about how they are engaging with each other. If it's appropriate, if it just makes sense, if you're near them, say it. Like, one time I witnessed this couple on their 50th anniversary and they were holding hands while feeding each other dinner. And I just had to go up to them on my way out of the restaurant and just say, I hope you're having a lovely time. You two are clearly in love. You just never know how that can ripple out. Because I'll leave with this. While I have never been in an adult relationship, I've had such fun, beautiful, flirty moments in my life. Like, it's really cute to be picked up on the street. Like, you can still attract whatever it is that you're calling forth. I think sometimes the universe just tests us test us down to the bone, but we come out much stronger that way. And if you're asking for something major in your life, you have to know that that's going to take some time to grow. An acorn doesn't turn into an oak tree overnight, my friends. So when you plant those seeds of love, when you become someone's companion, when you keep commitments to yourself, and when you look in the mirror and say, my God, I love you, you stop wanting that partner so badly. You've been listening to Jenny It's the World. My name is Jenny, and I hope that this episode has given you a little bit more hope if you are chronically single like me. I just want you to know that there's more to life than falling in love. And yet, I also believe that is one of the highest experiences we can have. So fall in love with what you can before that person comes into your life. Fall in love with the facade of your street. Fall in love with all the trees. Fall in love with every dog you meet, with every person you greet. Just spread the love. Look at every single person and imagine them being with their perfect partner. It would be so beautiful, don't you think? Until next time.